Hello, and thanks so much for your interest in Workday. This is an on-demand version of Workday Live, which is a one-hour webinar in our Workday Live series. It's really designed to be a one-hour overview, and we deliver these across the entire product suite. Today's topic is human capital management and really focusing on why Workday has built for the future. If you're interested in other areas, we also deliver these for payroll, time tracking, recruiting, financials, expenses, and of course what enables it all, technology. You can go to our website and check out resources, and we offer these at all different times during the week and all across the globe, and also in different languages for you and your product team. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. My name is Christine Ferguson. Been with Workday almost 10 years now, part of our original design team, worked in strategy and pre-sales, and now have responsibility with our Center of Excellence. So we're going to go ahead and get started here and take you on a tour of Workday. If you're already an existing customer, or even if you're not, today's presentation will be on Workday 24, which is our latest update. And with Workday 24, we delivered over 200 customer-created ideas. And that's something that's very important to us, is making sure that our customers have visibility and transparency and that they have a voice. And of course, you can see on the right-hand side of the screen there that it took us only 4 hours to move all of our customers from Workday 23 to Workday 24. So making sure that everybody is always talking the same language, marching to the same song, and everybody is always on the same version. Now, we talked about being built for the future. We are always thinking about things differently and how to be innovative and make sure that we're bringing to the table an exceptional user experience. And this is the philosophy that we're always thinking about. Significant problems we face today cannot be solved at the same level of thinking that we were at when we created them. And that's so true. When you think about the enterprise of today, there's so many different challenges, new technologies, new legislation. We know that the ERP systems that are 20 years old, that have wrapped and layered and acquired new technologies, cannot possibly easily support the business challenges of today. So what are those business challenges? Well, for starters, people's lives are just different, aren't they? We're more mobile, we're more global, we're more informed. Everything is at our fingertips, absolutely everything, so we can collaborate, and we become more demanding of our technology. We really are our own CEO. So in short, the first part of this is all about our users' expectations. They're changing. We expect a business system to be a fast follower of a consumer internet application. Business systems should be just as easy to use as all of the systems that you use today, a Facebook or a LinkedIn or any social technology that you're using. If you're looking to buy a book or rent a movie, everything should be just as simple as that. The other thing that we're looking at is focusing on a changing business landscape. I mean, it's got to be fast, right? We are an instant satisfaction society. When I send something out, I need an immediate response, or I need to know where it is. And that's something that we're focused on too, is really networking and collaboration across lines of businesses. Globalization is just part of doing business these days, and people and resources are everywhere. So you want to make sure that you're reaching people where they live. And of course, the last piece here is what enables it all, which is technology. It's got to be smarter. It's got to change your life. So we're moving away from on-premise to everything being in the cloud. We've always been a cloud vendor from the very beginning, and that means that you can access Workday from anywhere. And we're really getting away from, when we're looking at desktop solutions, of course you can access it on the desktop, but we're giving you the choice to use your device, whichever device of choice, small form factor like a smartphone or an iPad or a tablet. That's completely up to you, making sure that we're smart in the way that we collaborate and we socialize the system to our users and networks, so making sure that's smarter. And then, of course, making sure that we have built-in analytics, so you have insight and the ability to take action all the time while you're in the system. So that's going to be our format for today, is showing you how Workday has designed for the future, being simpler, faster, and smarter. So let's go ahead and focus on simple and why it matters. And we all know, people say this system is simple. Well, how is it simple? We really need to show how it's simple, why it's changing your life. Because if people are going to use it all the time, it's got to be easy to use, and that's what makes it sticky, whether it's a power manager or an executive or an employee. Our goal is to make sure that people have a repeatable and a consistent user experience. You don't really need training. It all works the same way, whether you're on your mobile device or your desktop. It all looks and feels the same way, no matter what transaction you're doing. And that's what's going to get people to use the system. The other goal that we had was to make sure that Workday was with you, wherever you were, on the road or on the go, make it easy to consume, make it easy to participate and collaborate without needing to be at your desk. And our customers appreciate that, making sure that Workday is with them on the road and on the go. Now, when we think about simplicity, John Maeda wrote the laws of simplicity, and he talked about subtracting the obvious and adding the meaningful. Simple is hard. When you think about how to simplify something, look at the button on the left-hand side of this device. Would you know how to turn it on or off if you just looked at those proprietary kinds of symbols? That's what we wanted to get away from, is really that kind of proprietary language. We wanted language that was meaningful and simple for our users. If you look at the button on the right, it's one addition. I have one off button, and when I know how to turn something off, I also know how to turn it on. So that's a universal feature, and I'll always know how to use it the same way. And that's what we wanted to deliver to our customers, universal, meaningful additions to the application so that they could use them the same way if it was on a desktop or if it was on a mobile device. And of course, we want people to be able to answer questions that they were having challenges getting answers to in the past. So if it's easy to use, that means you'll be able to answer those questions because everything will be in one place. Now, the CHRO at Yahoo tells us why it mattered to them. She said their executives were always asking them questions about the nature of their workforce. And some of these questions are the promise of ERP, right? We should be able to answer questions like how many people actually work here? Where are they located? What kind of jobs are they doing? What kind of value is it adding to the organization? Are they in fact good performers? Where do we need to focus and plan and grow? So in a competitive landscape, she said we needed to be right there with them, and that's what they did with Workday. They put everything in one system so that they can give their executives answers before they're asking those kinds of questions. So let's go into the system and help somebody answer those questions and really take you on a tour of Workday. And this is a manager who's logged into the system named Robert Singh. You can see his information right up here in the top right-hand corner. And I'm going to show you this from two perspectives. We've actually logged on to the desktop, which is, of course, configurable, so he can decide whatever icons, whatever pieces of information he wants on this page. If he wants to look at his team, or maybe he's doing recruiting, or maybe he is doing performance reviews, that's completely up to him. He can configure and personalize that experience. But let's show you some universal features with Workday. Of course, hitting the home button, well, it takes you home, of course. So anytime you're in a page, if you want to go home, you can just click that. Everything in society is search forward. Think about how you answer questions today, right? I'm going to go to Yahoo. I'm going to go to Google. That's how you answer your questions. And that's how you can get to your information and answer questions in Workday too. So when I think about looking for somebody, like I'm looking for someone by the name of Gia, I can type in her name, but it'll also give me a partial match. And what's great about this is it's showing me not just employees, but also insight into contingent workers as well. So again, the importance that we'll see all the way through the presentation of having everything in one place. And it's not just data I can search on. Maybe I am searching on a number, a cost center. So I can put in a number. Maybe I'm looking for somebody's social security number or a cost center. Maybe if I'm just looking for anything to do with recruiting, as an example. So I can just type this in and I can see all the reports or tasks that I can do. And again, all of that is very search forward. The other piece that you've got over here on the side is everything to do with Robert. And you probably haven't noticed this in your own consumer internet applications, but all your identity information, everything about you, your tasks, your to-do, it's always in the top right-hand corner. So we've made this live here as well. He's got 7 action items that he needs to take action on. So he's got a consolidated inbox, so his notifications come here, his to-dos go here, and again, his home page goes there as well. So very quick and easy to be able to do that. Now what's great about this is he can look at his profile, or he can choose to look at his team. So let's go ahead and answer some of those questions we were talking about. How simple is it to answer those questions of who works here? Well, pretty straightforward. I just click on My Team, and this gives me a couple of things that I can do. I can take action, so very quick and easy, thinking like a manager. What is it that I need to do? Well, maybe I'm going to transfer or promote somebody. And the way we've designed this is that we can actually decide what it is that we want to do. We choose the worker, and then we can answer some questions. We've embedded help, we've embedded videos for people, so very quick and easy. We're not expecting a manager to know everything about the transaction. That's why manager self-service in the past has failed. We expected the managers to know too much HR information. So all we're asking are the questions up front. When do you want this to happen? Why are you making this change? Is this person going to be transferred? Well, maybe they'll have a new manager. Which team will they be on? And where will they be located? And then we can fill out the rest of the information. It's a wizard because we want to make sure that this is quick and easy for a manager to take action. So again, who works here? We can answer that question very quickly. Here's my team down here below. And again, anytime I see a person in Workday, let's say I'm going to take a look here at Caitlin, I can click right next to their name and see a preview of everything about them, right? One click, instant satisfaction. I need to reach out to her? Great. I can just click on her phone number or her address. I need to find out some core information about her job details. Well, I could certainly do that here, or I could also look at her talent information as well. So again, not just core information, quick and easy answers to questions that I might want to look at. How long has she been here? What's she doing? What was her last performance rating? And it's not just looking at data, I can also take action on that data. So I can initiate that comp change as well with just one click. So pretty quick and easy to be able to do that. And I'm not just doing that for my employees, I'm also doing that for my contingent labor as well. So when I think how work gets done, I want to look at that not only from who, but I also want to look at the cost for that as well. Is it more economical to hire a contingent worker for this role or to have a permanent full-time employee? So I can do that comparison online. And of course, I can see all that same information. Notice that the only thing that's missing up here, I don't have compensation there anymore. Why? Because they're on contract. But I'll be able to see all the rest of the details that my security profile dictates that I can see. So taking actions, viewing information, viewing my team, very quick and easy to do that. I can also take a look at the who works here by looking at my actionable org chart. Another great way of moving through the system quickly and easily. I can see here that my managers, denoted in yellow, versus my individual contributors, denoted in blue. Quick and easy for me to move up and down the chain, so I can just click on my up arrow and I can see where Robert falls in terms of his own peer group and who he actually reports to, and then I can jump right back down here and take a look at these same folks. And there's Deborah, there's Jenna, who I just looked at, and noticing those universal features again, I can always click right next to a person's name and I can see that preview of information. So again, we're trying to make sure that you don't have to go to one place to be able to do something. I can look at Jenna's information anywhere. If I'm looking at it on the page, if I'm looking at it in a worklet, if I'm looking at it in a report, or if I'm looking at it in an org chart, I always can see everything about her and I can take action. And that's really the key here for a manager, is to be able to take action anywhere. So we've talked a little bit about who works here and the how many we could take a look at here as well by looking at headcount. And this will give me some access to some more universal features. I can see for Robert all of the different organizations that roll up underneath him, but now I've got insight not only into the workers, but how many headcounts I have available. And what's great in Workday, which you'll see everywhere, is rewards for curious clicking. I can always see what makes up a number. There's 2 people in the operations department. Well, who are they? Oh, it's Deborah and Jenna again. Well, wait a minute, I'm in a report. Can I still see that information? Of course I can. It's a universal feature. I can always click right next to someone to see more information about them. And it's not just more information about them, it's also more information about open headcount as well. So I can see all those open headcount that are still available. So one click gives me access to who works here, and I've also got access to how many I still have open. So again, answering those very quick questions. But for us, it's not enough just to look at headcount. When Robert is compensated. Part of his comp plan is making sure that he's making the organization successful by having a full headcount. So he's always got insight into not only how many people are on his team, but also where he needs to be and the pipeline that he has of candidates. And that's what he wants to take a look at right here. So for each manager, they're going to have insight into their headcount plan to their pipeline. So we can see here, for example, for operations, for our HR operations group, I've got a planned headcount of 2, and this is great. I've got 2 offer stage requisitions that are in flight, and I've also got access to 1 requisition opening. So not only am I looking at where do I need to be from an organizational standpoint, but I can see where I am here in blue. This tells me I've got planned 6 headcount, I've got 6. I'm good to go here. Finance and administration, ooh, I need to open a rec. I've got 5 headcount and I've only got 4 people who are on my team. How are we doing all of this? Because this is a lot of data. So I'm looking at the plan, I'm looking at HR information of how many people are here, and I'm also looking at what's in flight from a recruiting perspective. And the only way that you can do that is if everything is one place. And that's the way we've designed Workday, so that I can have that insight. The other thing that you've got access to here, and again, these are all dashboards, so they're telling me stories, things like my candidate pipeline. So if I have an opening, I can see what stage all of my candidates are in, or maybe I want to drill right into a requisition itself, and I can see all the information for my open headcount. So I'm looking to hire an HR manager for EMEA. Great. I've got 10 active candidates. Front and center, I've got referrals and internal candidates. Again, another great benefit of having everything in one system is now when you're looking for talent, you can leverage your internal talent as well, really looking for the best candidate. You're looking here at analytics for the requisition, so you can see where people are coming from and what sources and what stages they're all in as well. So very quick and easy to be able to review all of that detail. So we know who works here, we know how many, we know insight now into our pipeline. Where do I need to be and where do I need to focus so that when I meet with my recruiter, I can go ahead and have that productive conversation and decide who we actually want to move forward. The other thing that we want to talk about is the how much question, right? That's what we always think about as well. From a compensation standpoint, we take a look at this from 2 different areas. We can take a look at it from comp, and we can also take a look at this from spend. Our employees and our contingent workers, while they do have salaries and benefits that are a huge line item on a balance sheet, they are also incurring expenses. So we want to make sure that we're adhering to company policies, and that's something that Robert is also paid on, as well as making sure that his team is well within their budget. So we want to make sure that we're focused there. Now this gives us some great insight into transactions I can perform, like a comp change or a one-time payment, but it also gives me access to their pay in range. Now, Robert happens to be based in the U.S., but this is a great example of having everything in one system. I have people from all over the world paid in all different currencies, and I can see that not only in my base currency, U.S. dollars, but I can also see that in their in-country currency. So I've got access to that and some insight into where they are in their pay range and where they are from a market perspective. So I've really got some insight into what they're actually paid. So very quick and easy. This is a global system. So of course we've always focused on having global compensation packages, global compensation plans, and making sure that as you're moving your people in and out each location, that the system is automatically calculating and delivering to you what plans they're eligible for. So very quick and easy to be able to set those up. And of course, when we think about compensation, I always think of comp and performance going hand in hand. Are we in fact paying for performance? So let's take a look at performance as well. And you can see here we've also got a little dashboard of things that are in flight, like our performance reviews and actions that I can take and questions that I can answer. So this is a smart chart. Again, this gives me insight immediately. Oh, I don't actually have to do anything. There's 0 performance reviews that have not been started, nothing in flight, and I've got 4 that are completed, so I can actually view the details there as well. I've done all of my performance reviews for last year for my team, and I can drill in and I can see all of the information about that. What's great is that we use the framework for performance for things other than just performance, because what we're hearing a lot about is people getting away from those performance reviews that are just annual or quarterly, and really getting into a continuous feedback cycle. So we want to enable that. Of course, you can do your performance reviews and start development plans, so when you're onboarding, you can establish those goals and objectives right out of the gate. But we also want to make sure that we're using it for things like controlling our performance, disciplinary actions, and performance improvement plans, and looking for continuous feedback for our employees and for our teams. Now, I'd mentioned earlier the how much part of this. This is where we can combine some of our questions. Are we in fact paying for performance? So I'm looking at compensation, I'm looking at performance, and what do I see here? Well, I can see that the way that I've designed my salary plans here into quartiles, I can see that there's somebody in pink, and they exceed expectations, but they're below the lowest quartile. So I want to click on that and see who that is. Of course, I can just click and see. Well, it happens to be Gia, who I was looking at earlier. And I can see, if I make this a little bit bigger here, she's got great current ratings, great previous ratings, but she's below the lowest quartile. Well, that concerns me. But this is why it's so great to have everything in one system, because not only should you have the insight, but you should also be able to take action, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. So we're going to do that by doing what we've done before, where we see Gia, we click on that related action, I can see information about her, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to request a compensation change. And you can see it could be a comp change or a stock grant, maybe a one-time payment or a grade change request, but I'm just going to start this process from here. So again, here's our policy, so it gives me a little bit of guidance, but I'm a manager. I just want to request the comp change. So why am I doing this? Well, I'm going to give her adjustment, and I'm going to say it's for performance. And then it'll start a little wizard for me. It'll tell me what I currently have to work with, so what is her current pay, and I can work with what I want to propose. What's just popped up on the right-hand side of the screen, this is really the key to all of this. You probably use these every day. And if you're wondering what they are, they're contextual analytics. So an analytic that delivers to me as I'm doing a transaction things that I want to think about. You use this every day on Netflix and on Amazon. People that bought the book also bought this other book. Here's what other people thought of this particular film or this music title. And this is things that I want to think of from a business perspective. Everyone's delivering analytics. This is the relevant piece. Stuff you want to consider as a manager before you make your decision. So I can see whether she's been promoted in the last couple of years. I can look at her talent analysis and see whether she's in a critical job and her performance and where she falls in our 9 box. I can look at her compensation analysis. She is a top performer. She is high potential, but she's below the market and a flight risk. So I want to make sure that I actually do something that's relevant here and that's going to be meaningful for her. And I can see when I look at her peers, she is very underpaid compared to her peers. So again, that contextual analytic is going to give me exactly what I need to look at so that when I'm going to head to give her a salary change, I just go right here and I can say, what is it that I want to do? I want to give her maybe a new amount or a new percentage or a new change amount. So again, whatever I put in here, this will calculate automatically. Now, I can't just go around doing changes willy-nilly. It's going to tell me that when I go to save this, this is a huge increase. So somebody else is going to need to take a look at that. But you can see now that she's more in line with that, and she's done, it's calculated all of that detail out there. Now I can add an hourly rate if she was hourly. I can change the guidelines out here, and again, I could certainly go ahead and submit that. But that's a great example of having insight and being able to take action. Now, the last thing that we're going to take a look at here is her expenses. And again, for Robert, this is something that he's making sure that he is constantly reviewing. So he can take a look at the expense reports that he's got. He can take a look at his team's expense reports. So when we think about the cost of people and walking around an organization, we look at the compensation, we look at expenses for the team that we're monitoring, making sure that we're adhering to those policies. And then the last piece is, are we in fact paying for performance? And before we exit out of this, it's not just about performance reviews, it's also about talent reviews. I care not just about how someone's doing, but I care where they want to go. I want to be able to have that career conversation with them. So I could go ahead, as an example here, and maybe print out the talent cards for all of the organizations that he manages. Maybe we'll just look at the Americas, or maybe we could add all of them together. We could go ahead and run those. We could print that if we needed to. And very simple to be able to look at that and have that conversation, assess people's potential, do a talent review, manage succession plans. And some of these things we're going to see towards the end of the demonstration, but this is where I can do all of that talent planning. I can calibrate my talent. I can also plan for that future leader. And of course, I can also make sure that I'm having those individual conversations so that I know where my employees really want to work. So very quick and easy to be able to move around the system, universal features that we've seen in terms of navigation. Everything is search forward. It's personalized just for me. I can configure my page, and I can take action anywhere I see. So jumping back here, of course, this is very simple, and this is something that simplicity drives execution. A great story about one of our customers, Flextronics, when their business leaders would ask HR questions about the workforce. Prior to Workday, HR would have to go chase down the information, and then by the time they had the answer, it was already out of date. And of course, that's the power of having everything in one place. So what they did is they consolidated 80 HR systems down to one with Workday. And this quote here that you see, that's Mike McNamara, their CEO, and he talks about simplicity driving execution. Their big concern is labor costs, and if with it being one of the most or the largest of all of their company's expenses, now they can answer any question that they need about people, labor, the cost with just one click. And that makes them really nimble as an organization. And for them, that's why simplicity matters. And we've talked about simplicity, but we've also needed to talk about, like all other consumer internet applications, like Yahoo, like Google, like LinkedIn, like Facebook, and these are all Workday customers, by the way. It has to be with you on the road and on the go, and that's why the other side of simplicity is mobile. And I get asked a lot about mobile and why people should actually care about it. And when we launched recruiting, I guess about a year ago, a little over a year ago, one of our customers was with us on the roadshow, and he said, you know, I could forget to put my socks on in the morning, but I would never forget my mobile device. It's with us everywhere. It's with us all the time. And everybody laughed, but everybody knew that was so true. Think about what you do first thing in the morning. I know I grab my mobile device. I know if I'm up in the night, I grab my mobile device. It's the first thing that I do, and you can see that by this statistic, the average person has their mobile device in reach 14 hours a day. And even with our own customers, we've seen that kind of uptake in mobile growth, 500% growth in tablet use in 1 year, and mobile deployment is up 1,200%. Well, why is that? It changes your life. So let's go ahead and we'll take a look at mobile and why that actually matters to our customers, and making sure that everything is very simple and on the go for you. So let's transition here. I'm going to move over to my mobile device. We'll make this just a little bit smaller for folks so that you can see my simulator here. And now I'm Robert, and I've logged on to my mobile phone, and you can see here, very quick and easy to use. I can configure these icons as well, just like I could on my desktop, and you can see that everything is in one place here for him. So he can click around. He's got that inbox front and center for anything that he's on point for. He can look at his team and answer those same questions of who works here and how many and what that open head count is. He can also look at his pipeline. So if he's looking at his recruiting information, this is where he's got quick and easy access. You know, if he's going from meeting to meeting, if he's going from interview to interview looking for those candidates, this is where he can take a look at that and really consume that information quickly. He's got 4 open jobs. He can just tap right in here. What are those open jobs? Well, there's 3 that actually don't require my attention at the moment, but the one up top here, HR Manager for EMEA, I can see immediately I've got 10 candidates. I'm on point for 4. This is exactly what we saw on the desktop about a couple minutes ago. So this will tell us everything about that requisition, and I can review all of those details. Noticing here for a hiring manager, it's not just what they're on point for, but it's also insight into the candidates and where they fall and what stages they're at, and also making sure that we're really putting those referrals and internal candidates front and center at every opportunity. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to get special treatment, but I think we all know the best way to kill a referral program is to ask your employees to recommend their people in their network and not to respond. Because I know if someone asks me for references and I give them to them and they don't respond, the next time that they ask, I'm probably not going to give up my network, am I? So we want to make sure that we're making sure that all of those candidates are front and center. And of course, you can just tap right in and see anything about these candidates. So these happen to be 2 referrals. I'm looking at David Delgado and Peter Carlson, and for every candidate that you have out there, we've got a great view of everything. Now this is where simplicity matters. This is where we took a mobile-first approach, taking down the things that you look at on a regular basis and making sure they're quick and easy to consume on a mobile device. Of course, you can look at the details, but what I typically look at for a candidate when I'm looking at their CV or their resume, I'm looking at how much experience they've got, how long they've been at their current organization, and how many jobs they've had overall. And I'm making that front and center as well. I can tap into that and see all the detail that made up all those jobs, but if I'm quickly looking through my talent stack, I don't want to have to scroll through resume after resume. I just want to look at those details. And of course, I can look at skills and education. If I want to actually look at his resume, I can certainly do that. But again, am I going to be doing that, looking at the details here? No, I'm probably just looking at that high-level information, and this allows me to get more detail and context for his job and his experience. Contact details, speaking of, I can reach out to him in any way with just one tap. And guess what? Here's where social matters. So if he has shared any of his social handles like LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook, his network just became my network. So I can reach out to any shared connections that we might have and really find out what's different about David. How am I going to get him onto this team? Because I think he's a great candidate. And then, of course, because everything is all in one place, if I have a request or I have a question about my requisition or my candidates, one tap for all my workers or my contingent workers, and I can reach out to Carmen, right? She's part of Workday as well, so I could call her here. Or if I can't get a hold of her, I could look at her org chart and take a look that way. So very quick and easy to be able to do that. And of course, you've also got access to the requisitions themselves, so I can take a look at those open jobs, and I can take a look at where we are in terms of those candidates. So quick and easy to be able to navigate around the systems. We're also taking a look at dashboards. Dashboards, of course, tell us stories, and you can see that we've got lots of dashboards that he likes to manage. The one that he wants to take a focus on here, or take a look at rather, is recruiting. And quickly and easily, he's got access not only to his candidates, who's new in the application in terms of applying, but he also can see where he's at. And again, there's that look that we were looking at earlier on the desktop, finance and administration. I needed to have 5 people, I've only got 4. So I'm moving along here, but I can see where I am at any time and answer any of those questions when my mobile device is in my hand. And of course, you can look at things that are more organizational in nature, directories and org charts. And I can also use this same application to look at my pay slips or take a look at my time off. So if he wants to take a look at his pay information, something a little more personal, he can take a look at all of those paychecks, all of the gross to net, the year to dates, and all of the cumulative totals, and he can put that into a PDF right from there. So again, answers to questions that I typically would have to call or log in somewhere else, and I can do all of that right from here. And of course, it's not just reviewing and approving. Sometimes I'm requesting things as well. It might be that I've just interviewed a candidate and I want to log my expenses, or it might be that I want to take some time off. So I can immediately look at my balance while I'm just leaving the building, and maybe I want to ask for some time off that's coming up. So that's in May. Maybe I want to request something for the end of June. I'm going to add on to my current holiday. I've selected 2 different days, the 25th and 26th. I'm going to take a longer holiday building up to Canada Day. Yes, I am Canadian, in case you were wondering. Or the 4th of July, Memorial Day, Independence Day, rather. So again, 2 great big holiday weeks. So we can decide here where we're actually going to take that bucket of time from. Here's all of the plans that I participate in. I can see as of that particular date, the system has projected out the amount of hours that I can take, and I can go ahead and ask for that to be approved. So very quick and easy to be able to do that. I can click on that. I can ask for that from my manager, and we can go from there. So again, quick and easy to be able to review and consume information for all of the folks that we're working with. So when you're thinking about simplicity, if it's hard to use, it is going to be impossible to love. So that's where our focus has really been, on making sure that things are simple for our customers. It really does matter. And as you've seen some of those examples, consolidating and putting everything in one system is really the key for making things simple and easy to use. So let's focus, and we've talked about simple. Now let's talk about reason number 2 why customers are choosing Workday. It's just faster. And we saw how easy it was to use Workday, and if something is easy to use, again, people are going to come back to it again and again. But we're engaging users in another way. It's not just easy to use. It's got to have value. It's got to let them have an impact at their company. So we're really focused on engaging users. And one way that we've focused on is really focusing on the idea of change. Change is constant. And we know that in the past, reacting to change from an ERP perspective has been hard. It's been challenging. It's typically another group that does that or another partnership that does that. And overall, it's really slow. And when we thought about the pace of change and why that matters, we need to make sure that our users are empowered to do the changes themselves without having to constantly rely on other groups. So let's talk about that. So when we think about faster, TripAdvisor is a great example. A quote, "Our philosophy is speed wins." Great philosophy. We looked at Workday and said, these guys get it right. And for those of you who are familiar with TripAdvisor, they're now the largest travel website in the world. And starting back in 2000, they focused on making their own customers' experiences faster and better. So they know the power of a user experience that's simple to use and delivers quick results. And their motto really is speed wins. So they're delivering that best experience as fast as possible when you're looking for that travel opportunity. And their president and CEO, he actually uses Workday too. And he's had no training, hasn't looked at a user manual, and he talks about having one platform across HR and financials, no integrations for them to manage. It's consistent reporting, consistent usability. So they've focused on delighting their customers, and we wanted to do the same for them. So when we think about managing change, change is a big deal because change has to happen in the cloud. So we gave ourselves some guidelines. And the first guideline is that the changes should involve configuration, not customization. And as I know, so many of the customers actually that I talk to, they tell me that they've customized so much that they're now looking at a re-implementation rather than an upgrade. It's so far gone from vanilla that they're now in a place where they're stuck. They can't move and uptake any new features. So that's guideline number 1, configure, don't customize. And guideline number 2 is that if you do configure something, it shouldn't break when you move from update to update, right? So in other words, when we give you new features, they shouldn't break your old ones. So let's talk about the 2 types of change that we set out to address. The first kind of change is something that happens all the time. It's never going away, and that is organizational change. It's just constant. And we can't really predict when or what the changes are going to be. We just know that they're going to come, so we have to empower everybody to be able to manage that. And we've seen some of that, haven't we, where a manager can affect change by requesting a transfer, requesting a promotion, requesting that compensation change. But what happens when people actually need to move around? Are you empowered to do it yourself, or do you have to rely on another team? And this is not just people moving around. This might be when we acquire a new company, or maybe we're moving divisions around or splitting up different groups. So this is something that we wanted to be able to give our customers for them to do themselves. So let's jump back into the application. Well, there's our talent cards. I think I forgot to show that earlier. And we're going to sign out. And instead of being a manager, we're going to be what we call an HR partner. So somebody who's our CHRO or somebody who's a business analyst and has a little more power than Robert had in the system, a little more security in the system. And Logan McNeil is that person. And you can see this desktop looks exactly the same as Robert's, only she's configured it for things that she does every day. And she actually gets a call from her manager, and he says, you know what, we're going to be moving things around, so I need you to take a look at our team because some of the things that are out there right now are going to be different. We're going to be uptaking a huge group in compensation, and we're going to be adding more to our recruiting department. So I think for now it probably makes sense for you to move payroll underneath financials or underneath the finance group. Okay, well that makes sense to me, and I can see here that Logan, who's our CHRO, she has the ability to do that, to move the payroll department to another group. Now, where is that other group? Well, it's one of my peers, actually. So I can see here that Logan actually has a peer named Teresa, and she's got that finance and administration group. So let's go ahead and actually do that change. And we could do this future dated. Maybe Steve called and said, hey, this isn't going to actually happen until September, so we could put an effective date on it that way. Or we might say, hey, it's got to happen right now. So I know there's 8 folks that are in there. Let's go ahead and we're going to click on the department itself. Now, why am I doing that? I've looked at employee self-service, I've looked at manager self-service, and I know if I click on a person, I can see a preview and I can take action. But all those features, as I said, they're universal, aren't they? So when I take a look at a department, I want to make sure I can do the same things. So here is organizational self-service. Instead of having to do mass change and run all kinds of scripts, here's where I can just go ahead and affect that change. And maybe I'm going to assign this to a different group. But you can see I can create groups underneath this or divide up the organization or maybe move workers around. But let's go ahead and just change who they actually roll up to. And we'll say that this is actually going to happen as of today. And we say that instead of reporting up to human resources, we are going to report to finance and administration. Pretty simple. We can just say maybe this is per Steve Morgan, and we'll go ahead and submit that. And of course, I'm always that curious person. I want to see what happened. Did it just go out into the abyss? And this is one of the reasons for so many phone calls into HR. When people submit something, they don't know if it went through, they don't know where it's at, there might be multiple approvers and they haven't heard anything. This allows me to always look at what happened. So I can see what happened, and I can also see the process. If there were any approvals that are required, I could see that right from here. So this is great, not just for reorganizing, but think about your expenses when you submit those. You want to see where they are and how soon you're going to be reimbursed for those expenses. Or maybe you're initiating a transaction like a comp change, and it might be multiple levels. You want to see where that is. So you've got insight into the transactions themselves. So I can see that this took place. I can see that it now reports up to finance administration. Still not good enough. I want to go look at what that actually looks like now. So now I can see finance and administration, and I can see that the payroll department now rolls up underneath that organization. What's great about this is if I look at finance and administration now, and let's say I wanted to look at some sort of reports, maybe compensation reports, maybe headcount reports. If I took a look at maybe my compensation spreadsheet or a compensation summary, I could take a look at this maybe for all of my organizations and who rolls up underneath here as of today. So I can see all of these different groups, and I can see there's my payroll department. But let's say I wanted to change that, and I wanted to look at this as of yesterday. Well, I know that yesterday payroll did not belong to that particular group. And so here when I scroll down, I can see that's disappeared. I have different totals. I don't have the payroll department in there. And that's really the power of being able to affect change. So I had a project that I needed to work on. I made the change. I reported on it as well. And now I can phone Steve back and say, no problem, Steve. That's already been taken care of. It's already done. Great. So what did that take us? 5 minutes? And I was doing a little bit of talking in between there. But that is really the power of being able to own all of your information and be able to affect change. So that is one kind of change that we wanted to talk to you about, organizational change, like who needs to move where and how fast we could react to the change. But the other kind of change that we need to look at is how we actually run our business, how we react when the process of how we do things needs to change, and how we still need to maintain control over all of our business processes. This is a post-Enron kind of world. So we want to make sure that when someone comes to us and says, show me how you do things in this area of the organization, whether it's a transaction, whether it's for the business unit, or whether that's for a geography at a country level, I want to be able to show them that I can have these different rules if they apply. And that's exactly what we've delivered for all of our customers. We call them business processes. And I just think of these really as events. Workday is the only event-driven system that's out on the marketplace today because we implement all of these events and the rules while we're implementing the software so that when you go live, you have all the rules in place. It's not like an after-the-fact workflow. So when things are exactly the same, you can use our default definitions, and this is what a lot of our customers do. They use the definition of what it is to hire an employee or transfer or promote or do a name change, approve expenses, anything that you want to take a look at, we deliver it for you. So you don't have to start from scratch. You've already got these templates. And if those templates are different, how we hire people is different by organization or definitely different by country, this is what enables you to support consistency where it exists in your organization and really allow for those uniquenesses at a local level or at a business unit level and make sure that those are in place. And when you move from update to update, all of your rules stay in place. And you can see we've delivered over 325, I think that's actually up to 345 at the moment. And this is something that continues to empower all of our customers as they impart change and they apply rules across the organization. So we just showed you 2 ways to adapt to change by managing your people and your organizations. And the ability to change is really so important, whether it's organizational change or business events that support the workforce. And with Workday, our customers can make those changes, test it, and be live with a new process or a new organization immediately, as you saw. So we know that Workday is simpler, and we know that it's faster, but simple and fast are really only 2 of the perfect trifecta. And that is why this brings us to the 3rd piece here. It's got to be smart. So for Workday and all of our customers, it's all about the power of one global system of record, one system for the entire enterprise, one delivery model, one version, one community. And because there's only one, the economies of scale are huge. So we're going to talk about the benefits of having everything in one place, and then show you one of the biggest perks is making sure you've got that insight as a customer with everything in one place. So we've got another demo that we're going to focus on for talent. Now, I do love this quote. I'm sure lots of you are fans of Peter Drucker, as am I. You can't manage what you can't measure. So you want to be able to manage your information. You want to be able to get quick answers. Like Robert at the beginning of the demonstration, who works here? What are they working on? What's the cost? But you can't answer those questions if everybody's all over the globe in different silos of people data. How could he possibly answer all those questions if everything was in a different place and he needed to consolidate it? Then it's only good as of a point in time. And this is what I hear from so many of our customers. You know, this is what we looked like. We had everything in different silos of people data. Ask yourself at your company, just think of quickly off the top of your head, how many times are you stored? Do you have to log in one time? Do you have a different benefit system, different performance management system, different payroll, different expenses system? I mean, all of that should be in one place. You've got one system for the entire business. And that's what was also important to the folks at Four Seasons as well. A great iconic brand. I know everyone knows the Four Seasons, their hotels and resorts. And they're world renowned for that. But they would tell you that it's their people. That's what gives them their competitive advantage. And they've got folks all over the world. You can see Mary Sullivan here. Many different cultures, languages, and country rules involved. We came to understand that Workday was the best HCM solution for us. But for them, it's not just how well they staff their existing properties, because the talent is really important. It's all about how they address the needs of a global workforce. All of these properties are around the world. So insofar as they want to have similar reporting, umbrella reporting, each of those properties is unique, and they have to make sure that they're adhering to those differences, and that's why Workday works for them. So when we talk about having one or having everything in one place, we're getting away from multiple systems of record, definitely getting away from silos of people data, making sure that we've got everything in one place so that we can report, have insight, take action, and also predict. So it's not just what's going on, it's what's going to happen as well. So having insight into our talent and also having insight into what we can do for some of those issues that we're seeing. So those are some of the issues that we're seeing. When we talk about everything in one place, what most folks want to ask me is how many, right? How many countries are you in? How many languages do you have? And so these are some of those stats talking about communication profiles. So the names and address formats, global phone numbers, and emergency contacts. Why that's important, making sure that we're adhering to that at a country level, and also for things like data privacy. So things that we would govern at a country level, we're providing that guidance for you. So things like religion and military status, and making sure that when you look at that country, it's changing the page and the expectations of the kind of data that you're receiving. And also if you're working in that country, making sure that it's relevant for you in the language that you speak. So let's go take a look here, and we'll go jump back in as Logan. We've got lots of different folks that we can take a look at, but let's take a look at the Global Support Center. And I know I can just type that right in there, and I can take a look at that organization. So I've got a number of different members that work here. Let's look at this in an organization chart so I can see who they all roll up to. They all roll up to Susan Steinberg. And you can see that these groups, some of them are in EMEA, one of them's in Asia Pac, Latin America, North America. But what's great about this is when I click on any of their information, I can see that contact details, the work address, that changes depending on what country somebody's actually in. Scott happens to be here in Toronto, so I'm going to see province and I'm going to see country details, versus Nikhil, who actually works in Singapore. So I'm going to see different information in terms of country expectations. The other thing that's great about this, which we'll take a look at here, is the kind of information that we're tracking for people. So if I look at his personal data, I can go ahead here, and because he's based in Singapore, the system is going to expect me to answer questions that I would normally not ask for someone in North America. Things like religion, for example. So I can actually come here and take a look at his religion, and I can see that these are going to give me some choices that are based on that particular country. So think of it this way: change the country, change the page, and the kind of data that the system is going to expect you to track. And we're providing guidance for you in all of those areas. We also provide a global matrix for our employees or for our customers as well, so that you can look out and see what you need to track at a country level. We also partner with Jus Laboris, so they're going to give us guidance on any changing governance and compliance at a country level as well, so that we're letting our customers know about those changes, upcoming changes, and something even as simple as a national ID. We may have countries like Malaysia where there are 7 different types of national IDs. We typically think of that as just a tax identifier, but countries use those in a different way. So we want to give our customers as much insight as possible from a global perspective to be able to answer those questions and to be able to make global decisions. So again, and having everything in one place from a global system of record, making sure we're smarter by having one delivery model. So this is important. It's just one system. It's not integrated. It is not unified. It is just one system. So for the entire suite, we're looking at financials, we're looking at HCM, we're looking at payroll. If you've got HCM and you want to add recruiting, great, just subscribe. You have payroll and you want to add financials or expenses, just subscribe. It's all one system, and it's all on the same release. You want the latest features, you just turn them on. So there's no separate databases, no integrations to make it talk, no separate reporting, no separate security, no separate workflow. It works the same across the entire suite because it's all in one system, and it's in the cloud. So we worry about all the things that you shouldn't have to. Why else is it smart? Well, one vendor. So we take off your plate the things that you shouldn't have to care about: hardware, patches, fixes, upgrades. Workday takes care of all of that for you. And because it's a different kind of pricing model, it's being in the cloud, it's subscription-based. So pricing for the first time actually becomes predictable. When I've talked to some of our customers about what they were working on in the past, I asked them what it was going to cost to upgrade their systems, and they actually had no idea. They had no idea. It was hard for them to come up with a budget. But when we think about Peter Drucker and being able to manage what we can measure, this is the first time that HR really becomes measurable and predictable. We know what that cost is going to be. So it's a welcome change. And it also means that you're getting the latest innovations because all of our customers are on the same version. I talked about that at the beginning of the presentation. Everybody's on Workday 24. So it means that we're having the same conversation and no customer is ever left behind. We have 2 updates a year, so that means we're constantly providing our customers with the latest innovations and letting people turn on new features when it works for them. You never need to upgrade to get the latest functionality. It's always just there, so the timing is designed around your organization. So why do you care about that? Well, it means we never have to start another conversation with what version are you on, or ask someone, what database are you on? We never ask that question because everybody's always on the same release. And it means that all of Workday is marching behind you to the same song. Our developers are always working on one release. We're always working on the same functionality. And the best thing of all, if that doesn't seem great enough, the best thing is of all, at least to me and for our customers, is that when someone shares something like a report, as an example, in our customer community, you can use it too. You can take that, and that's the best of social and collaboration in a business context, really being able to have transparency and to share. And that really brings us to our customers' experience and having one community. So I get asked a lot about social media and collaboration, and our community is really where our customers collaborate. It's called a customers community, and we want our customers to have that great experience. So this is where you've got insight into everything that's new, everything that's exciting in terms of new features. There's a lot of transparency into our customers for strategy, product management, and where people can share and ask their questions. So this is something that's unheard of in the ERP world. Nobody shares everything. I have to start over every single time and start from scratch. I'm reinventing the wheel, and we don't want our customers to do that. If somebody's created something great, you should be able to pull it into your own organization, change it for whatever you need it for, and then repurpose that for your own business value. So collaboration and community really is the next generation of business applications. It's all about the customer's experience. And the last piece here before we do our last part of the demo, when we think about experience, we love asking people, what do you think? It's a type of engagement that we have with the product, and we don't always have all the best ideas. Some of the great ideas that are put into the product, like the 200 customer-created ideas that were just put into Workday 24, those are all customer-created. So we have something called a brainstorm where you can look for similar ideas or come up with your own and suggest those to our development group. And you can see we take that very seriously from an uptake perspective and deliverables. So we're always trying to provide that for our customers. So you can see why the power of one is really smarter for our customers. One system of record, one delivery model, one version, one vendor, one community, and making sure that you have one voice. So having everything in one place really does everything for our customers. And it does one more thing for them. It actually gives them insight. So now that everything is in one place and you've got built-in business intelligence, you can use dashboards and let them tell you the stories that you want to hear, that you want to be looking for, retention strategies, talent insights, taking a look at planning and future-proofing your organization. And that's why Workday really is built for the future, because all of this is in one place, and with one click you can slice and dice and have an answer so you can take action. That's exactly what the folks at Chiquita have done. They had no insight into their labor costs. That was their big challenge. And you can see here, managing change, moving resources at the speed that we need to move. So for these guys, labor cost was a big deal. So what they did prior to Workday, they used logistics and transportation information to determine for each one of their locations what the ratio should be from workers to supervisors. Now the reality is that they had 5 different facilities, they had different rates, different unions, certainly different agreements. So now with Workday, what they do is they've used Workday to answer a supply chain question for their organizational leaders, because they've got all that labor data. They've got rates, they've got numbers, tenure, ratios, but with payroll, now they've also got the actuals as well. So they use that data to help them with their choices about when they roll out new SKUs and new products, and really looking at the real costs. So insight isn't just for core data. It can help us understand our talent. It can help us understand our business and the costs and how we make those business decisions. It's definitely smarter. So let's take a look at one more example here of being smarter. We'll take a look at Logan and some of the dashboards that she's got access to gain that insight. And you can see here I've got access to lots of dashboards. This can be across the board, whether it's related to comp and benefits, whether I'm looking at contingent workers and maybe doing comparisons for my employees versus my contingent workers, expenses and details that I want to take a look at. And I also want to make sure that when I'm looking at these dashboards that they are in fact telling me stories. So I'm scrolling down to be able to actually look at that. Let's jump back to our dashboards here. And as we scroll down here, let's take a look at talent management. So this is where we're going to use our dashboards to tell me a story. What does she care about every day? Well, she supports the organization, so she's got some organizational goals here for the operations department and HR, and she can see how she's progressing with those individual goals. She really cares about talent and planning at this particular stage of growth for her organization. So she's really caring about the future of the organization itself. So she's got succession plans that she can see here are at risk, and she also can see the answer immediately. Do they have a ready pipeline of leaders? Let's go and check. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for us on our screen. So do we have a pipeline of leaders? This is what I care about. I'm future-proofing the organization. I can see I need to have a target of at least 3 succession candidates for each one of the positions in my groups here. And I can also see that there's only one group that's actually met the target. Everybody else is like an epic fail here. So they're not too bad. Some of them have 2. This is terrible operations. Like they're not even trying. Or maybe I haven't helped them. So let's go ahead here and we're going to take a look at one of the groups. We'll look at sales and marketing. And again, I can click on that, see what makes up that number, view the details. Let me make it a bit bigger for us as well. And I can see here that it's not too bad actually. There's some folks that have 2 candidates. Some folks that have 1, but let's go ahead and take a look at one of these roles. So we'll take a look at the Vice President of Sales, and I can see across the bottom here that I've got 1 person in that role currently, Joey Kowalski, and I've got 2 candidates that I'm taking a look at. So let's drill in. We'll look at the succession plan itself. So I can see Angela, I can see Camilla. I can compare them side by side, looking at various factors like talent and tenure. Both of them are pretty experienced. Qualifications, so what is their skill set that they're bringing to the table in terms of readiness as well for the succession plan. Now I know that I need to find 3, I already knew that. I've only got 2, so I can use our find framework to actually find workers. This is again something you'll see as a universal feature in Workday. Right now we're using it to help build a pipeline of leadership, but in recruiting I might be using this to find a job, or as a recruiter I might be using this to find a candidate. As an external candidate, I might be using this to look for opportunities on the career site. So again, making sure that we're working within that find framework. And I can decide what those facets are that I want to use for my criteria to find these new areas of talent. And you can see here on the left-hand side, I can use anything. So let's say I want to look at competencies. Maybe I will look for anyone who's got leadership as a competency. And I'll go ahead and search for that. And then maybe I could look at, high potential. Maybe I could look at education. Again, it's completely up to me. Maybe I'm looking for a job profile. That's completely up to me. But I can see here that I've got a couple of different folks who show up in my list here. Maybe we'll take a look at Allison, and maybe we'll look at Benjamin as an example. He's in field sales. That could be a potential for him. But again, you can decide who you're actually going to use here. So let's take a look at these 2 folks. We could grab more, but and we won't in this case. We'll just go ahead and compare them. I can see here one of them is based in London, one of them is based in San Francisco. Where do I need that person based? I can see that one of them they're both in non-management. Is this going to be a good one? He needs improvement. Probably not my great candidate that I'm going to take a look at, but she's an outstanding performer. She's got lots of talent here. She's got great competencies, and she's definitely ready for the move. So from here, again, remember having that insight and being able to take action, I can click right on Allison's name, and what do you think I'm going to do? Same thing I've done through the rest of the presentation. I'm going to take action, and I'm just going to go right down to talent here, and I'm going to add her to the succession plan. And I believe that was for our vice president. And we've got a couple of them here. We'll look at Joey Kowalski, and I can see here that there's Camilla, and there's Angela, and now I'm adding Allison. Now, what's great here is another contextual analytic has popped up. Remember we saw this earlier when you're giving someone a comp change? Stuff I probably want to think about before I make this decision. Well, it gives me some analysis on my succession plan, so I can take a look at that, where they fall in their 9 box, and last time they were promoted. I can take a look at retention risk. So maybe I'm taking a look at what the prediction is. It's low, they're low risk, medium risk. The loss impact of both is significant, but not something I need to worry about for the short term. Now here's something I do actually care about. So there's two people here. One of them is a regional sales manager. It's not just when I'm looking for talent. People are always looking for opportunities, and Brandon, as an individual, has the ability to say, I'm interested in this career path, I'm interested in this job, and that's why he's shown up here. Maybe he didn't have enough skills, or he didn't meet the qualifications to show up as a potential candidate, but here's where I could potentially add him, or at least use this opportunity to have a career conversation with him and say, hey, you know what, I see you're a regional sales manager, you want to aspire to be the VP, let's put together a development plan for you. Now, Susan happens to also be a VP in a different area. That concerns me because I really count on Susan. So if she's wanting a different kind of role, I need to have a discussion with her as well. But again, things in the context of the transaction that I'm doing, so I can go ahead here and say that maybe she'll be ready in another year. We could say that one of them is the top candidate, and we can go ahead and submit that. So again, very quick and easy to be able to impact change. I had the dashboard, it told me a story. I had insight as I'm building that pipeline of leadership, and I could move forward from there. So in the last hour, we've taken a look at how Workday is really building applications for the future by making them simpler and smarter and faster. Now, I know it's very hard to pay attention for a full hour, but I do wanted to say try and stay connected with us in every way. We love to reach out to you and let you know what other opportunities that we have in terms of Workday Live, and we really appreciate your attention over the last hour. You can stay connected with us on LinkedIn, on Twitter, Facebook, and of course Google+. And of course you can visit our website, workday.com, and go to resources if you wanted to hear any of our Workday Live series across the rest of the product suite. And again, I know there's lots of places you could have just spent the last hour, but I sure am grateful that you chose to spend it with us. And we look forward to seeing you on a Workday Live again soon. Thanks so much for your time and your interest in Workday.
The leader has disconnected. The conference will be terminated in 5 minutes.